Certainly here in the UK, Rory, there is a level 3 certificate in counselling skills. But if you look at any counselling training that is worth its salt, there's going to be a year that really just focuses down on counselling skills for a full year. You're doing some theory, of course, alongside that, but the main focus is honing and getting those skills correct. And I guess it's the why. What's this all about, Rory?
Good question to ask, and I thank you for asking it, Ken. So why is this important? I always think the certificate in counselling is wrongly labelled, if I'm honest. It should be a certificate in advanced relational dynamics, because what happens is, yes, you look at the curriculum, you're going to do some skills, you're going to do some personal development, and you're going to look at theories and quality and diversity. But really, what you're doing is you're developing a skill set of communication, of wholesome communication, a way of communicating with people in a way that sees their view of the world. How often do we communicate to respond, not to understand? If you say something to someone, they'll usually give you a solution, as opposed to saying, that sounds really difficult, you'd tell me a bit more about that. And if we're only listening to respond, then we're never going to have high quality relationships with those people who we communicate with. If we listen to understand and understand that person's frame of reference, then we will almost certainly have better quality relationships in our lives. It doesn't matter if you're thinking of being a therapist, or it's at work, or it's in your outside life. By listening to understand, you will have a better understanding of what people are communicating to you. And the way that's done is by developing a suite of counselling skills, which is something that's never taught. It gives you a suite of skills that you can use and try out with your peers and develop this enhanced way of communicating with people. That's the best way I could describe it, Ken.
I like it. I love how you've used enhance communication skills. And I'm recognizing that when I covered this part of my training, it was such an eye-opener for me. It was such a life changer for me that it became my special interest and passion. The reason that I'm so locked in to this is because it is advanced communication. And as a very proudly autistic man, I look back on my earlier years, and the most difficult thing for me, right through schooling, being a teenager, going out to clubs, meeting people, was small talk communication. I don't do it well because it sometimes comes with the territory of neurodivergence, not always, of course, but it does in my case. I struggle to have small talk with people. The advanced communication skills, I'm going to call it, when I did my counseling skills, I started learning how to interact, how to listen. I didn't know, because like you say, Rory, it's never taught. And it changed everything, because counseling skills, when we're learning them, they have a very specific reason. We're going to take them into the therapy room, and we're going to use our counseling skills there with our empathy, our unconditional positive regard, and we're going to create that therapeutic environment. But I found that I could take just the skills themselves, reflection, active listening, and a slight mirroring, and I could just use it in my everyday interactions. I suddenly had a set of rules that I could apply. I realized that within small talk, I just need to listen. I just need to reflect back what they are saying, and generally the other person will lead the way and walk away going, wow, what a great conversation artist that person is. And I think this is quite an interesting element to the counseling skills, because many that learn counseling skills don't go on to become a counselor or a psychotherapist.
No.
And you may think, oh, what a waste of all that year of study. It is not, because those advanced communication skills, they're going to set you up in any place in your life where you have to have interactions with other human beings. It really is as simple as that. And it gives you a set of rules that works, and we know it works because the theory and the research underpins it and shows that it works.
It is. And if you tie that in with the theories, most of the person-centered work of Carl Rogers, using empathy congruence and unconditional positive regard. And let's be honest, it doesn't matter if you're doing person-centered or you're doing transactional analysis or new therapies that have sprung up in the last 20 years. The basis is the relationship. The evidence is absolutely clear. Talked about Lambert's pie before, the research that's been done to say what has the best outcomes of therapeutic relationships. And by a great degree, the relationship is the biggest part of it. Developing a relationship is unlocked by enhanced communication. I always like to think of it, Ken, as having a set of skeleton keys. Usually you're given a set of keys to communicate when you're a child, and they only unlock certain doors, and you wonder why you can't get on with other people. And it's because you haven't understood how to unlock that door of communication. And that's what you get. You develop a bigger set of keys to unlock doors to communication. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I've trained radiologists, police officers, paramedics, doctors, CEOs. Not all of them went on to become therapists. They took that set of keys, if you like, and those enhanced skills and went on and used them in their own work.
Interesting looking at them. So we know the use of them, we know the value of them, not just within the therapy room, but outside of the therapy room as well. And I think the most important skill of counseling skills, and this is my view on it, is the actual active listening part. Because if you're actively listening and you learn how to actively listen, you naturally will be a better communicator. Because if I go back to what I was suggesting before, when somebody was speaking to me, all I was thinking of is, what are you supposed to say to this? How am I supposed to respond to this? What's the right thing that I can say in this situation? So I wasn't actively listening. And if you're not listening to the person in the first place, then half of the communication is gone before you even start. And just by becoming quiet, not thinking, what am I going to say next? And using the active listening skills that you will learn again and again in counseling, you are already a better communicator. And that's before you say a single word. Before you even open your mouth, you are a better communicator, just in how you hold your body, where your eyes are at the time, and the fact that you really are listening. Not sitting looking like you're listening by leaning forward a little bit, but you actually really are listening. And the next skill that I think is really interesting for me, and again, transferable out of the therapy room, is just the skill of silence. When a person finished a sentence, I thought that the rule was, okay, it's turn taking, that's my go. I've got to jump in and I've got to say something now. I've got to think of something to put in here, as opposed to just silence and maybe a minimal encourager. If you leave a little bit of silence, here's the thing. If you leave a little bit of silence when someone is speaking to you, they say more. Generally, that's my experience in that as well. So it's so interesting to me that without opening my mouth, I became a better communicator. And then by putting in reflection, paraphrasing, and selective use of good questioning, it obviously takes it to another level. And I'm speaking outside of the therapy room now, but of course, as counseling students, we are looking at the skills for therapy as well. And this is the thing. The skills that we focus on are so rare that when a client comes in and experiences that along with the congruence and the empathy and the unconditional positive regard that we will provide for them, it is powerful. It is powerful within that room, even if we don't say that much. And of course, as you become more competent and confident with the skills, you'll use them without thinking too much, because you've been actively listening, and it almost feels natural rather than I wonder which skill I should pop in when they've said that, Rory.
Yeah, it becomes less of a rather rehearsed conversation where you drop this skill in and that skill in, and more of a fluid communication. And yeah, it served me very well. Having a conversation where you're listening first and talking secondly, and you're trying to really understand the person in front of you, can be a revelation and make such a difference in a life. And if you can make such a difference in a life, that's a great thing, isn't it? If you do that every day, think how good the world would be.